Hey, welcome back to Dan's Chess Lounge, everyone. So, in the tiebreak round of round number 2, you had the young star Alireza Firouzja going up against another child prodigy, Javokhir Sindarov. And it was a really exciting game, the featured game of the day. It was a rapid game, 10 minutes with 10-second increment. And Sindarov is only 15 years old. So I have a feeling that we're going to see these two youngsters going at it for a long time to come. So let's go ahead and get into the game and see what transpired over the board. So playing white was Alireza, and he started off with d4, knight f6, c4, g6, knight c3, and now you have bishop g7, and it looks like we're going to go into a King's Indian defense, which is one of my favorite defenses to play. You have e4, d6, knight f3, all standard moves here, castles, bishop e2. Now you have c5 here, and black is signaling that he wants to take the game down more of like a Benoni style or a Benoni structure with the c5 instead of playing e5 right away. So you have d5, e6. Black is trying to break up that center. Knight d2, knight b d7, castles, and e5 here, which may look a little confusing. Like you may be saying to yourself, well, why didn't he play e5 like right away? Why did he play e5 in 2 moves? But one of the benefits in playing, this type of structure with black is that you can be very flexible, especially if the center is locked and the center is closed. Then you don't have to be as precise as an open game where you need every single tempo. So he's able to be a little bit more flexible and kind of steer the game or see where the game goes and play it like that. So moving the same pawn twice in the opening here is not really going to affect him as much. a3. Now that looks like white wants to go ahead and play b4. Knight e8. And see, with the center locked here, both players, have decided to play on the opposite wings here. Black's going to go on the king side. White's going to go on the queen side. And we have it, b4, f5 here. And it looks like we have a race. It's going to be one of those opposite side battles where one's playing on one side, one's playing the other. Who's going to be the first one to inflict damage? I guess we'll have to see here. Rook b1, knight ef6, knight b5. This hits the pawn there on d6. So now you have knight e8 to protect it. Queen c2, b6. Now b6 allows the c pawn to be recaptured with that b pawn there. That one there. Or else, if it would have been recaptured with the d pawn, then that would allow white to just push on through. And that might have been a little tricky for black to handle. So you have knight c3, queen e7, bishop b2. Now, bishop b2 here, the bishop seems a little passive on that diagonal there. It's not really doing anything. It's blocked in right now, and it's kind of biting on granite, as they say. It might have been a little bit more active for the bishop to stay along, this c1 to h6 diagonal. But only time will tell. I know, going back one move here, I know that Alireza wanted to get fully developed and connect his rooks here along the back rank. So going forward, you have f4 here, bishop g4 here. Now let's see here. That bishop would be fantastic if it could land on e6 and be posted up there. That would be a fantastic bishop there. Knight c7, that would stop the bishop from landing there. Knight b5. Okay, so you have a pair of knights swapped off, and that's actually good for black, since black didn't have quite as much space as white. So having lesser pieces, a lesser amount of pieces on the board, that's pretty beneficial for black. Knight f6, bishops are traded. Okay, so even more pieces are being taken off the board. Now you have the rook facing off against the queen here. And you have rook bc1. Now, it kind of looks scary for white to allow black to capture on b4 and expose, his queen. But let's just see what would happen if that was the case. If c captured b, then you would have queen captures rook, rook captures queen, rook captures rook, and check, right? And then the rooks would be doubled on the c file. And actually, this wouldn't be that bad for white, especially since in this type of position right here, black really doesn't have a lot of room, for his queen to operate and for his queen to really do the damage, that she can do and really work her magic. So this would actually be okay for white, which is why Alireza was not too afraid to play the rook over to c1. Now you have queen d7, queen d3. Now here, how would you proceed here for black? What do you think is the best move in this position right here? Go ahead, pause the video for a minute. Give it a quick think. Okay, I hope you came up with the best move. The best move in this position here is actually f3. Wow, f3. And now you might be saying, well, why did Sindarov just give up his f-pawn? Well, he did that because he wanted to open up some lines there. He wanted to get his pieces more active and get like a lane. He wanted to get like a lane that his pieces could go through, which is this f file here. And also now his queen can come out. His knight is going to be beautiful if it can get to f4. So it can be all types of tactics involved there. So he gave up. He sacrificed his pawn there, his f-pawn. Okay, so now you have knight g5 here. It would be nice for white if his knight could land on that e6 square. Knight f4. So now black's knight is in a beautiful position. It's hitting the g2 square. The black queen is looking to come over to g4 and threaten checkmate. It's just looking very lovely right now for black's ideas and his intentions. Queen d1, that stops the black queen from going to g4 and doing all those threats. Queen b5, so black says, okay, I'll go ahead and grab this pawn on b5 then. While you're focused over here on the king side, I'll go ahead and start working on the queen side then. a4. Now, Alireza makes a little bit of a mistake here because he's a little bit overwhelmed. He's a little bit overloaded. He's trying to defend on the king side, and he kind of, forgot about what was going on the queen side. It was a little bit too much. So Sindarov was able to pick off some pawns here. He plays queen takes b4. The bishop hits. Now, this may look kind of scary also. He's got his rook and queen lined up there. You may be saying, like, well, what is Sindarov thinking about? The bishop is going to be able to just capture, on e5, and his queen is going to be exposed, right? Like this. But what would happen is knight e2 check, and then black could just pick off the rook there on c1. So that's no real threat there. It just kind of looks scary. So instead, white plays rook c2. Now that is a real threat of bishop captures on e5. But that allows Sindarov to just pick off the a-pawn. So now, if we stop and reassess the position here, Sindarov has 3 passed pawns on the queen side that is unopposed. So it's clear to see that Alireza is having a hard time defending on both sides of the board. Bishop d2. And now h6 was played here on the board. But Sindarov kind of missed. He kind of missed a line here. If he would have played knight e2 check, then if the king goes to h1, knight d4 pretty much wins the game here, because now it forces the queens off the board, and there's just not going to be any way that Sindarov's going to lose this game. He's going to have these 3 passed pawns. It's just going to be a formality or a technical win for him. So it would have been good for him to spot that knight e2 move right here, but he kind of missed that. So instead he played h6, right? Now you have bishop captures, pawn captures on g5, and now the bishop captures the pawn. So if we reassess the position again here, Alireza was able to eliminate the powerful knight, and he was able to win back a pawn. But it's still going to be a tough task, though, because he still has to deal with these 3 passed pawns here. And also, to top it off, Firouzja is down on the clock. He has about 30 seconds right now, opposed to Sindarov, who has about 3 minutes, a little over 3 minutes. They do get a 10-second increment, which is going to help. Queen e4, rook e1, queen f5, that hits the bishop there. h4 tries to solidify the bishop, and it's not really a lot for white to do here. It's like he's running out of pieces almost. So now you have bishop f6. Sindarov is following good fundamentals that says when you're ahead in material, try to trade off pieces. So he's offering the bishop trade here. Alireza declines it. He goes to bishop h6. And now you have the queen on h5 facing off. He wants to trade material. He wants to trade pieces since he's ahead. And again, Firouzja declines. He goes over to c1. Now you have rook h7. And now we've come to a critical position in the game. I want you guys to pause the video and see if you can figure out what's the best move here for black. How would you proceed? Okay, I hope you guys came to the same conclusion that the young chess prodigy Sindarov came to, and that is bishop captures on h4. Yes, 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 yes. So you might be saying, well, what would that lead to? Is he just dropping his bishop? Well, if white captures, then you would have mate in 4. So you can pause the video here if you like to try to figure out the mate in 4. It's always good to practice your tactics. But if you just want to see, it's queen g4 check, king f1, rook captures, f4. You can play f3 there as well. It doesn't matter, f3 or f4. But now you have queen f3 check, and there's no way to stop rook h1 coming next. It doesn't matter if you block with the bishop, if you block with the rook, if you flee to g1, nothing is going to be able to stop rook h1 checkmate next. So obviously you cannot take the bishop there on h4. So that's a great tactical move there and great calculation by Sindarov. So Alireza plays queen d1. Now he's kind of forced to go for the queen trade and eliminate some of black's firepower that he has on the board. My, how times have changed. The tides have turned. So you have queen captures queen, rook captures queen, bishop f6. And now, if you really think about it, it's just a mere formality for Sindarov to win this game because he's got these 3 passed pawns here. It's going to be very hard, and he's up on the clock by like 3 minutes. It's going to be very hard for Alireza to come back. Let's see what happens. Rook a1, rook b7, rook a6. Now Sindarov is getting his king into the game. That's another principle, another chess principle. Try to get your king active in the endgame. King e7, rook c8-2, putting pressure on that a pawn, but black has that protected. He's not in trouble here. Bishop d2. Now the pawns start rolling. b5. Bishop a5 hits the rook. He just moves it over to d7, no problem. Okay, you have f4. Sindarov just pushes. The pawns are rolling now. You have rook e2, g4. King gets out of the way of the same file as the rook. Rook f2. And now you have, look at that, e4. Now this opens up the line for the bishop here. Now it's going to be so easy for black to just escort his pawns up the board with both of his rooks. This is just a mere formality here. So at this point in the game, Alireza just resigned. You know, he threw in the towel here. He said he had enough. And, you know, you can't blame him. There's nothing really left for white to play for here. And being up 3 pawns, you know, that's just a technical win there for black. So Alireza did have an opportunity or a chance to win the next game, but he failed to do so. The game ended in a draw. So this ended up being the decisive game of the match. And Sindarov sends Alireza home. Sindarov advances into round number 3, where he'll be playing against the Peruvian GM, Jorge Corey. That should be a great match as well. So, all in all, I'm really impressed by Sindarov's ability to be so flexible in the opening and to play positional chess and then turn into a tactical monster towards the end of the game. You know, these up-and-comers and the young stars, you know, they're so gifted. They're really talented. It's like they have the positional skills of like a Tigran Petrosian in the past, but it's combined with their tactical ability of like a Mikhail Tal. It's like they have the best of everything. So it's really fun as a spectator and just someone who loves the game. It's fun to watch. And I can't wait to just see what unfolds. So I hope you guys enjoyed the game today. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Till next time.